Hey everyone and welcome back. You know I'm pumped for this one.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to do a deep dive on the 2025 Suzuki GSX-8R.
Right.
We found this killer article with all the details,
Awesome.
and from what I've seen so far, this bike is creating a lot of buzz. It's definitely shaking things up a bit.
I think what's interesting about it is that they're targeting riders who
Yeah.
want a bike that's not just for like weekend rides, but also for the daily commute.
Yeah, I totally see that. I think that's a really smart move by Suzuki. So, okay, let's talk about this engine.
Yeah.
Because it's not your typical sport bike setup.
Yeah, a 776cc parallel twin with a 270-degree firing order.
Wait a minute. 270-degree firing order. What's the deal with that?
Well, it basically gives you the power delivery of a V-twin, but in a smaller package.
Because you get that nice low-end torque for around town, and then
Sure.
when you want to open it up on the back roads, you've got that mid-range.
Yeah, and it even sounds like a V-twin.
Really?
Yeah, it's got that rumble
Oh, that's cool. I love
on
that.
the uneven firing intervals
Yeah.
of that 270-degree crank.
Wow, so they really thought this through. Okay, let's move on to the tech, because Suzuki did not hold back here. They've got this whole suite of electronics called the Suzuki Intelligent Ride System, or SIRS for short.
Sounds a bit intimidating.
I know, right?
Eh.
But it's actually really cool.
Yeah, it's basically your co-pilot, helping you have a smoother and safer ride.
So what are some of the features of SIRS?
Well, first you've got the SDMS, which is the drive mode selector. And this lets you customize the bike's performance to your riding style.
So it's like having 3 bikes in one.
Exactly.
Okay, so walk me through the different modes.
So you have A mode, which is for a more relaxed and fuel-efficient ride.
Right, so that's for like commuting and stuff.
Yep. Then you have B mode, which gives you a sharper throttle response.
Okay, for when you're feeling a little bit more spirited.
Exactly.
And then there's C mode,
Okay.
which is for unleashing the full potential.
That's the one for when you hit the track.
Oh, those twisty back roads. Okay, I like it. So what about traction control?
So the GSX-8R has this advanced traction control system that constantly monitors wheel speed and throttle position. And if it senses any loss of traction, it adjusts engine power to keep you stable.
So that's really helpful in those like less than ideal conditions.
Exactly like if you hit a patch of gravel on a damp road.
Yeah, that could be pretty scary without traction control.
It can save you from a nasty crash.
Okay, and what about this quick shifter I keep hearing about?
The quick shifter lets you shift gears without using the clutch.
Wow, so you don't have to use the clutch at all for
Right.
upshifts or downshifts? That sounds amazing.
It makes the gear changes so much smoother and faster.
So it's not just about speed, it's about that feeling of being connected to the bike.
It really enhances the whole riding experience.
Okay, let's shift gears now and talk about handling, because I saw that the GSX-8R has a 57.7-inch wheelbase. What does that mean for us normal riders?
Basically, a shorter wheelbase means a more agile and responsive bike.
So it can change direction quickly.
Exactly like a dancer.
Oh, I like that analogy. And what about the suspension?
So they've got high-quality Showa inverted forks up front and a tuned monoshock in the rear.
And that gives you a good balance of sportiness and comfort.
Exactly. So you can carve through those corners, but you're not going to get beat up on rough roads.
I appreciate that,
Well,
because I'm not getting any younger.
yeah.
All right, let's not forget about the brakes, because stopping is just as important as going fast.
Absolutely.
What do they put on this thing?
Well, they've got Nissan radial mounted calipers with dual 310mm rotors up front and a 240mm rotor in the rear.
Those are some serious brakes.
And they've also got a compact ABS controller for added safety.
So you've got strong, predictable braking, even in less than ideal conditions.
Exactly. It gives you peace of mind.
Okay, so we've talked engine, tech, and handling, but let's be honest. Looks matter too. And this bike is a looker.
Oh, yeah. The styling is definitely sporty and aggressive, with that full fairing inspired by the classic GSX-R series.
Like they took those classic design elements and gave them a modern twist.
And they even wind tunnel tested the windscreen.
Really?
Yeah.
To make sure it looks good and reduces wind buffeting.
Exactly. So you can ride comfortably for longer distances.
They really thought of everything. I also love the LED lighting and those sharp angular lines.
It's a very modern and sleek aesthetic.
So it's got the looks, the power, and the tech.
But what about comfort? Because sport bikes aren't exactly known for being the most comfortable,
That's true.
especially for longer rides. So what has Suzuki done here?
Well, they've actually addressed that issue head on.
Really? How would they?
Instead of the typical aggressive riding position, the GSX-8R has a more upright, but still forward-leaning stance.
So it's a bit more forgiving on your body,
Exactly.
but you can still tuck in. when you want to go fast.
Yeah, they've also paid close attention to the seat design and the placement of the handlebars and foot pegs.
So it sounds like they've really thought about the ergonomics, but is it actually comfortable for like a weekend trip?
Well, that's a question. Best answered by people who have actually ridden the GSX-8R. All right, so let's see what real-world riders have to say about their experience. Is it living up to the hype?
You know, from what I've read, the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive.
That's great to hear. So what are people saying?
Well, a lot of riders are saying that the GSX-8R is really easy to maneuver.
Okay, especially in city traffic.
Exactly. That compact parallel twin engine makes it feel really nimble.
Yeah, it's got to be way easier to handle than a bigger, heavier bike.
And people are also really liking the quick shifter. They're saying it makes the riding experience much more fluid and enjoyable.
I bet. Clutchless upshifts and downshifts.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
And of course, everyone's raving about the handling.
Especially in the corners.
Oh, yeah. They say it just carves through them.
You know, when you combine that nimble handling with the strong mid-range torque and the confidence of the service system, it sounds like this bike would be an absolute blast on a twisty road.
It sounds like Suzuki has created a bike that can really adapt to the rider's mood.
So you can cruise comfortably, or you can push it to the limit.
Exactly. The versatility is impressive.
Yeah, it's like having two bikes in one, a commuter and a weekend warrior.
Speaking of which, where do you think Suzuki's positioning this bike in the market?
Yeah, I don't think they're trying to compete with those hardcore super bikes.
You're right. It's more about that sweet spot
Yeah.
between performance and practicality.
It's like they're saying, you can have your cake and eat it too.
Exactly. You can have a bike that's exciting, but also comfortable enough for everyday use.
I think that's a really smart strategy
Yeah.
because it appeals to a wider range of riders.
It's a bike designed to be ridden and enjoyed on a daily basis.
And let's not forget about the looks. This bike is a head turner.
It definitely has some serious curb appeal.
So it's got the comfort, the capability, and the style.
And the accessibility.
Oh yeah, that's important. With those adjustable ride modes. And all the rider aids. It's a bike that can grow with the rider.
You know, it's funny. We've been talking about all this cool tech and stuff, but I keep coming back to that engine.
Yeah, that 776cc parallel twin with the 270-degree firing order. It's just such a unique choice.
It's a clever choice, too, because it gives you that V-twin character, but in a more compact package.
And don't forget about all that low-end and mid-range torque. Perfect for real-world riding.
Exactly. It makes the bike feel responsive and fun.
All right, you know what I'm really curious about? That quick shifter.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I can only imagine how much fun it would be to rip through the gears without using the clutch.
I know, right? It sounds so seamless and effortless.
And from what I've heard, it works flawlessly.
So it's not just a gimmick. It really adds to the riding experience.
Suzuki really nailed it with this one.
It seems like with this bike, they really focused on the rider and how to make the experience more enjoyable.
They've struck a great balance between performance, technology, and practicality.
Okay, before we move on, I want to talk about something that often gets overlooked with sport bikes.
What's that?
Fuel efficiency,
Oh, yeah. That's an important consideration.
especially for people who commute or go on longer rides.
The article didn't mention any specific numbers, but I'm curious to see how it performs.
Me too. That 776cc parallel twin.
Yeah.
Seems like it could be pretty fuel efficient.
Yeah, parallel twins are known for that. And Suzuki has a reputation for building efficient engines.
So we'll have to wait and see what the real-world fuel economy is like.
Yeah.
But overall, I'm really impressed with this bike.
Me too. It's shaping up to be a real winner.
All right, let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back and wrap up our deep dive into the 2025 Suzuki GSX-8R. Okay, so we're back and ready to finish up our deep dive on the 2025 Suzuki GSX-8R.
Right.
You know, there were a couple things in that article that really stuck with me.
Oh, yeah.
Like that detail about the fuel tank. They designed it with a narrow rear section for better knee clearance,
You know, it seems like a small thing, but it makes a big difference in comfort.
especially for taller riders or anyone who's going to be spending a lot of time in the saddle.
Exactly. Suzuki's really paying attention to the details.
And speaking of details, we got to talk about the looks of this bike.
Oh, yeah. It's a stunner.
I mean, the pictures don't do it justice.
I know, right? That full fairing.
Yeah.
Inspired by the GSX-R series, it just looks so aggressive and sporty.
And it's not just for show. They wind tunnel tested that windscreen to reduce wind buffeting.
So you can ride comfortably at higher speeds.
I mean, they really went all out to make this bike both beautiful And functional.
Form and function in perfect harmony.
Okay, so one thing that really surprised me was that Suzuki is marketing this bike as being suitable for both beginners and experienced riders.
That is interesting, but I think it's a smart move.
Yeah, because it makes the bike more appealing to a wider range of people.
It speaks to the versatility of the GSX-8R.
I mean, with the adjustable ride modes and all the rider aids,
Yeah.
it really can adapt to the rider's skill level.
So a new rider can feel comfortable and confident, while an experienced rider can still push the limits.
It's like the bike can grow with you as you become a better rider.
Exactly.
All right, before we wrap things up, we have to talk about SIRS one last time.
The Suzuki Intelligent Ride System, it's really what sets this bike apart.
I mean, from the adjustable power modes to the traction control and that seamless quick shifter, it just adds a whole new level of sophistication.
It makes riding safer and more enjoyable.
So if you had to sum up the 2025 Suzuki GSX-8R in just a few words,
I'd say it's the perfect blend of performance, technology, and comfort.
it's a sport bike that doesn't sacrifice everyday usability.
It's approachable,
Yeah.
exciting, and stylish.
Couldn't have said it better myself. For all the details, be sure to check out the full article. But we want to leave you with this. If you could design your dream sport bike, what features would be non-negotiable for you? Let us know in the comments. Until next time, ride safe.